Hello friends and welcome to the Southern Mountain Kitchen. Today we're going to make made from scratch buttermilk pancakes. So this is really easy to do, so let's just jump right into it. You need 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 tablespoons of sugar. To this we are going to add 1 tablespoon of baking powder, and then you need 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. So we're going to go ahead once this is all in the bowl, and we're going to mix this up a bit because these are basically our dry ingredients. So mix it through. And once we get this totally mixed, then we're going to add the wet ingredients. But we want to make sure that stuff like the sugar, the baking powder, and the salt are all distributed throughout the flour because we don't want those kind of staying to themselves. Now, when we come to this next, we're going to add in everything that's wet. So our next thing is going to be 1 large egg. Break open that yolk before we get going because you want to actually mix this through a little bit just to get it started. We don't want any of that egg staying in one place, especially if you didn't break the yolk. Then to this, we are going to add 4 tablespoons of melted butter. And make sure you get all of that in there. Basically, you just needed to pop that through the microwave. We can actually get that ready to roll. And then once that's in, we're going to mix again because we want to keep going with the mixing and make sure that everything gets incorporated properly. Now, we are going to add 1 1/4 cups of buttermilk. Usually any grocery store carries buttermilk. It's easy to get if you don't know where to find it. They even carry it at Walmart. So if you look around, you will find this. The buttermilk gives us such a great taste. It's just a great additive to it rather than using just regular milk. And then to this, we are adding 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. So we want to go ahead and mix this up and try to get out all of the large lumps that are in it. Just keep going at it. They will break up. I don't like putting a mixer or anything into this. I'd rather just do it with a spatula or whatever and just break it up. So that way when you're moving the spatula around, you can feel the large lumps that you need to get rid of. And once you get this pretty smooth, then we're going to get ready to actually cook this up. Now, you can use a skillet if you want to, or you could use anything else to use it, like, you know, a large pan to cook in or whatever. I'm using a griddle. So that way it just works best for me because that way I don't have to worry about, like, you know, the size of a pan or whatever I'm cooking it in because the griddle is long and wide and it actually gives me room to put these on. And I usually put them on 2 at a time. And, you know, it's one of those things where when you're making these, sometimes you do the first one or so, it might be a mess up and you might just basically have to throw it out. Usually I cook up that first one and I have a Newfoundland that eats it. So, you know, it gets used. However, when you're putting this on here, you're using about 1/4 of a cup of batter, and you're just going to put it on there and make it into a circular form. If you've never made pancakes, it's really that easy. On your griddle, like when I started out, I put a little bit of butter onto it to actually give something underneath of it. You don't have to do that, but I do it just as something to make them not stick so much. So it's your option if you use the butter or not, because if you were, you just needed like 2 tablespoons of butter on it to start with to melt up. So anyway, we're going to let these cook, and when you have them on there, you want them to cook for about 2 minutes per side or whatever. So what you're going to do is let them cook. You're going to see them start to bubble. And when they're bubbling, you know they're really cooking. And then you can actually just peek under the side of it to see how brown it is. Because people like their stuff with different degrees of brown. I like my pancakes to look like they've been cooked to where they have a darkened brown edge on them. So that way I know they've been cooked up really well. But like I said, you're going to try and go for about 2 minutes. Now, I have my temperature on this, like, you know, medium to high. I just want them to get going. I'm not trying to turn it high and like burn them. But you just get it to a medium high, get it heated up before you put them on there. And as they're cooking, you're going to see the bubbles start to form, as mine is doing right now. And you just want to keep checking it along the way to make sure that you've not gotten too brown underneath of it. But the 2-minute rule is probably a good one to stick by. Just by that point, you really do need to check and make sure whether you're ready to flip or not. So some people out there are like, yeah, well, I already knew this. Well, some people don't know how to do everything, and you kind of got to give information. So that's what I do. So go ahead and flip, and they should look something like this. With what I'm mixing up here, you could get 6 large pancakes out of this, or you could get like 8 or so of the medium sized ones out of it. So it just depends on how much you need. You might, if you have a big family, want to double what I make up, and that way you've got enough for, like, you know, several people to eat. But like I said, some of it's all about the size of how big you make them. But as I said before, this is just, it's not a hard process to make this. They're really easy to do. The ingredients I put in give such a great taste. And if you've eaten the box stuff, the frozen pancakes, which are pretty bad, or even some of the mixes out there aren't much better, this is so much better than that, because when you make it from scratch, it tastes so much better, and it just has a wonderful flavor to it. So much better than if you went and got a box and did it. It's good to have the box if you're in a hurry and you don't have time to do it. But at the end of the day, you know what? If it's a weekend and you got a minute, this is so much better. And I don't even want to get started on those frozen packs of pancakes and stuff, because we don't do that in my house. Those are just really gross. But anyway, so you're just going to keep doing this repeatedly until you get them completely done, and you make your way through all of the batter that you had. And like I said, you can do these 2 at a time, but as you stack them on the plates or whatever, the new ones are going to keep the ones on the bottom warmer. So that way they're not going to get cold on you, because this is really not a long process, especially when it takes per pancake set here like maybe 4 or so minutes to cook them up. So it's really not a bad thing to do. It's just monitoring them to make sure you don't burn the bottom. But as I said before, you just go through, check the bottom. When they're done, flip them over and keep moving to the next. The best thing about pancakes and having them for a meal sometime like on the weekend or whatever is you get to get creative with something. Like with this one, I used a strawberry jam, strawberries, and some whipped cream on top. But you could easily just do stuff like butter or syrup or whatever you want to do. But this one was like, I don't know, it's kind of like you want to do something kind of fancy for somebody, so you kind of like put all these toppings on top of it. The best thing, and I never expected this when I was doing it, by using the strawberry jelly here and the strawberries or whatever on top of it, it has such a good taste. I mean, it's really sweet, it's really great, and you're not overloading it with syrup like if you were just using like the regular syrup out of a container, because sometimes that's a bit much. But this just has a great flavor. It's not heavy, it's not a horrible meal to eat, and it's easy just to, you know, grab and go and eat and be done. So, but there's options, because you could use any kind of fruit you want on top of this. You could add any other kind of thing. You know, they have all kinds of syrups and everything else in the world you could put over top of these, or you could just go for the traditional butter, spreading it on top of it, and then pouring some syrup on top, or just putting a lump of butter in the middle and pouring the syrup over it. And whatever the case is, it's a great meal, and this will fill you up. You really don't need a lot besides this to feed people for breakfast. And the best thing is this costs like nothing to make. It's really a wonderful thing. So basically, this is a great budget breakfast, or even if you want to make it for lunch. But at the end of the day, this is what mine look like, and it really is great to eat. And sometimes it's kind of impressive if you want to feed somebody something nice. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. And if you get a chance, check out the Southern Mountain Kitchen website, where you can get a free recipe, check out the cookbooks available from the Southern Mountain Kitchen, and if you'd like to, you could order a cookbook at a discounted price, cheaper than Amazon, with shipping that is also cheaper than Amazon. So if you get a chance, check it out, and I hope you have a great day.